When individuals on the political right cross the line into extremism and violence, they are almost universally disavowed by the rest of the right and mainstream society. And rightfully so. On the political left, however, it often seems there are few lines that can't be crossed. Need proof? Take a look at the Students for a Democratic Society. Students for a Democratic Society was a radical left student organization existing from 1960 to 1969. Though it started out promoting democracy, civil rights, and opposing the Vietnam War, over the course of that decade its agenda drifted to explicit authoritarian communism and violence. Disturbingly, in the decades since, its most radical and violent leaders have been welcomed with open arms by academia and the media. In 1962, members of the Progressive Labor Movement, a Maoist organization too radical for the Communist Party USA because they believed there was no peaceful path to socialism, began joining SDS en masse after SDS removed language from their constitution that banned membership for advocates of dictatorship and totalitarianism. During a 1965 SDS annual convention, attendees voted to allow full participation by communists in the organization, which then led to the Communist Party urging their followers to join SDS as well in order to outnumber the Maoists. Naturally, when filled with communists, the organization became explicitly revolutionary in its mission. On the walls of the room at its summer 1968 National Convention at Michigan State University, SDS hung hammer and sickle banners and pictures of Soviet revolutionaries Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky. That same year, SDS took over 5 campus buildings at Columbia University and held hostage the acting dean, but that wouldn't come close to the violence perpetrated by one of SDS's successor groups, the Weather Underground. In 1969, SDS fractured into multiple radical groups. The Weathermen Group was aligned around a manifesto dedicated to armed struggle and the destruction of US imperialism and the achievement of a classless world communism. They were opposed to SDS's Maoists, who were forced out after being labeled counter-revolutionaries. SDS leader Bernardine Dohrn, along with Bill Ayers and other members of the Weathermen Group, coalesced into a terrorist faction eventually named the Weather Underground. Vietnamese communists encouraged them to begin an armed struggle within the United States. They did exactly that, instigating the so-called Days of Rage, an October 1969 riot on the streets of Chicago that led to hundreds of arrests, injuries to police officers, and property destruction. Afterward, the group claimed credit for 24 bombings over the next 6 years at sites such as the US Capitol and the Pentagon. None of this would prevent the individuals who ran the SDS or the Weathermen from reintegrating into society. Did they become less crazy? No. Instead, society, including the universities, did. Bill Ayers, who in 2001 wrote, "I don't regret setting bombs," was hired as a professor of education at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Dohrn became an associate clinical professor at Northwestern University School of Law, and for 23 years was the director of its Children and Family Justice Center. SDS activist and Weather Underground member Kathy Bodine, who was jailed for robbery and murder, after being released on parole, became an adjunct professor at the Columbia University School of Social Work and a scholar in residence at the New York University Law School. Former SDS President Todd Gitlin went on to teach journalism and sociology at several institutions, including the University of California, Berkeley, New York University, and Columbia University, and has been a contributing author for The Nation, The New Republic, and The American Prospect. SDS Vice President Paul Booth became a key organizing official with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, a major union. Robert Ross, a full-time SDS campus organizer and influential leader, became a research professor of sociology at Clark University in Massachusetts. SDS activist Tom Hayden was elected to the California State Legislature in 1982 and remained there until 2000. Nothing is wrong with forgiving individuals for their past sins, but the left's inability to draw a line that excludes unapologetic communists and terrorists represents a continuing threat to the security and freedom of our nation. I'm Shane Devine. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, and to learn more, read our profile on influencewatch.org. Thanks for watching.